What's up, everybody? It's AJ with etrailer.com. Today we're going to be checking out this Lockrack universal mount SUP carrier. So this is going to attach to round bars, elliptical bars, or even factory bars to help you load up your stand-up paddleboard and get on the road. Let's check it out. So Lockrack system's pretty unique. You have this base system that you have arms that you push in towards the side. So these arms are what's holding the stand-up paddleboard in place. You see, I can shake the whole vehicle back and forth. That's how tight they are. It's not coming loose. And then we have the universal clamps down here going around my factory bars to make sure that's not going anywhere, and then that's really tight to the vehicle as well. Something I like about the Lockrack system is that you can build on it. So right now we've got a stand-up paddleboard. Maybe down the line I want to get a kayak. I don't want to have to buy a whole new setup. All I have to do is buy different arms for the Lockrack. They'll slide into the base, and then I can use it to haul a kayak. Focusing on the arms, they are rubber coated here, so this is what's making contact with the stand-up paddleboard, so you don't have to worry about it damaging or scratching anything when you push these in to get it tight. You get a plastic key that comes with these. That's what unlocks the arms. So they are all keyed to the base. You slide it in there, you turn it, and now it just slides out. I like how easy that it is, and also goes in a storage position like this when not in use. So just slide down, you'll see this is where it's going to stop it. So it goes all the way in and takes up very little space on the roof of your vehicle. With the Lockrack in the storage position, I like it how it doesn't take up a whole lot of space here on the roof. It only adds about 2 inches to the top of these factory bars. Now that might be different for your vehicle and your bars, but that's not a whole lot. So I can leave that up here and not worry about any clearance issues when I'm driving around. Now the base is going to be made out of a lightweight aluminum. So that means it's not going to rust or corrode when it gets exposed to the elements. So putting your paddleboard back up here when it's wet and getting some water on there, or even been on the top of the vehicle when it rains, it's not going to bother it at all. You also have the rubberized pads that slide in here covering up the bolts on the bases, and that's going to help protect the board when you go to set it in place. So this is what's going to be making contact, just like the arms, so you don't have to worry about scratching it or damaging your board. The Lockrack base can handle up to 175 pounds, so just keep that in mind when you're loading up your stand-up paddleboard, but also go by the lowest common denominator. So check your owner's manual if you have a factory roof rack or your roof rack to see what its weight rating is and go by that if it's lower. Looking a bit closer at the clamps, there's going to be a rubberized pad on the inside, on the top and bottom, that'll protect whatever bars you put them on. You also have bolts that go in both sides here, and use a 5mm Allen wrench to tighten those down to get a good hold on the bars. This is what it's going to look like when you get your Lockrack out of the box. So there's a lot of pieces. It's not as bad to put together as it might seem, so we're going to go through it step by step. So first off, we have the two main parts of the base with the center bar in there. Now this is what you're going to need to figure out what you're carrying, so depending on your stand-up paddleboard is going to be how much length you need in the middle. Ours is pretty wide, so we're going to put it at the widest spots. That means it's going to be the last hole on this bar. It's going to slide into the base of the Lockrack, and you want to make sure you line it up with that first hole. Pass it up there. Right there is where we're going to want it. So it's going to have this much of a spread to set our stand-up paddleboard onto it. I've already assembled one of the clamps. This is how you're going to get these. You're going to make sure that you put the disc in between, and the end result will be putting it into place with the base. So I'm going to slide that bolt through. We're not going to tighten down yet. I'm putting it there just to keep the bar in place. Now I can't make sure that it doesn't move back and forth on us as we assemble the clamp. So going to the clamp that's not assembled yet, it's pretty easy to do. You got the rubber pads that are going to go on the inside, and that's going to protect whatever bars you put this around. So it's not going to be just plastic scratching them up. One's going to go on top. Before we put that in place, we have our bolt with the flat side here. Now this usually goes in the channel for channel mounts, but they actually let you run it up through the clamp. You're going to see the side that has the hole here. You're going to make sure that you get it seated right in there like that. Line up square, and then we'll put our pad to cover that up. Now we'll take our disc as a spacer, put it on top. We're going to do the same thing you saw me do earlier and go underneath the base. We'll put it through the back hole here. Now since I didn't tighten this one down, I have to put this one back into position. So we'll push those down into place. Make sure you push up if there's not a lot of it coming through. And then we can add one of the nylon lock nuts. So let's start by hand to keep it in place. pointed straight front and back as you tighten it down. We got the rubber pads we're going to add in next. It just goes in the channel. You see on the underside, they got the holes to match up with where the bolts go. So you want to feed one side in first, and kind of just work in the other side from there. Now make sure you put one bolt and nut in each side to hold the clamps in place. That way you can just swing them around the bars when you go to set it up there. You will still have to tighten it up. So it's like we have to move one of these, but it'll make it easier when you go to set it in place. You see that I got the bottom brackets all out of the way, so I can just set it down on the bar, and then I can line up with one we've already installed in the front. So once I get them even, we can start to swing the bottom brackets over, and then add our bolts. We'll drop them through the top, so you can put the nut on the bottom, and then tie it down with an Allen. I'm going to do it evenly on both sides, so just go back and forth on each one of these. Now we're going to remove the arms so we can load up the stand-up paddleboard. So we got our key. We're going to put it into place. It only fits one way. You tab here. There's an opening. So make sure that's faced up. It should go right into place like that. You can turn it. That will release the arm and allow you to remove it. Looking at the arm, you can see that there's one notch here. That's the storage position. And then several options here for adjustment points when you put the stand-up paddleboard in place. Something that's going to be helpful when you're loading up your stand-up paddleboard is to put your arms back in, but put it in the furthest out position. So this is this first hole. Remove the key, slide it in, make sure it snaps into place, because you don't need the key to actually push it in. So it being this far back, I'm going to set up the same one here. So when I go to load the stand-up paddleboard from the other side, it's going to hit these and not just come off the roof. Just going to make it easier for me when I'm just getting into place. Now I'll take the paddleboard and load up on the roof. Might need a second set of hands, depending on the paddleboard you have, but this should be okay. Just to set it up there on the base, and then I can push it the rest of the way. Now I can continue pushing the paddleboard into place. You see it's hitting one of the arms on the other side, but that's okay because it's locked in and it's not going to go through or fall off. Now I can do the adjustment from front to back. Looks like it needs to come forward just a little bit more. And even using it and adjusting it on these pads, those rubber pads on the Lockrack base really do help. It didn't just slide easily across. It stayed right in place. So I know there's extra grip when it's sitting up here. I think that looks good right there. And at this point, we'll take the other set of arms and slide them into place. So it's nice you don't need the key. We'll push up against there. With both of these, I'll get them started. Try and push to get that one extra click if you can. But as you can see, I can shake the whole vehicle back and forth. It's not going anywhere. Overall, the install's not so bad. You do have to climb up there with a couple tools that can make it a little difficult, but you only really have to do that once because you can pull the arms out and make them even with the top of the vehicle. So it's not really in the way. I actually drove around with it a couple days on top of my vehicle, and I was fine. I pulled the arms down, didn't get any way, no clearance issues. I didn't have anything to worry about, and I didn't have to worry about storing them inside the vehicle. So I do like the Lockrack setup. One, because it holds the stand-up paddleboard really tight when you push those arms in. Still got to use straps on the front and back, but really easy to set up and take down when you're done. I think that does it. Thanks for hanging out, and hope this helped.